Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts at the UFC Apex? Yeah!
What an introduction for a card that, if you look at it from top to bottom, it probably doesn't deserve quite the introduction, but there are going to be fights happening at the world's most famous Apex. In the main event, pretty good one. As you see, Amanda Ribas will face Rose Namajunas, the former strawweight champion, making her second appearance in the flyweight division. As we welcome you to the UFC Vegas 89 preview show here on MMAfighting.com. I am Mike Hack. Hope you're all having a wonderful Friday. What a weekend it is to be an MMA fan. Bellator Belfast, I believe, just got underway. We got this card tomorrow. Pretty late in the day, but it's fights nonetheless. And joining me as always, and I think we need him more than ever, the Prince of Positivity himself, Mr. Alexander K. Lee. AK, how positive were we feeling about UFC Vegas 89?
I am so deeply positive about what we're going to see. That was not an eye roll, by the way. I'm sorry. I was checking my lighting. That looked like an eye roll. I would not roll my eyes at a UFC events that we're getting on ESPN Plus or Sportsnet up here in Canada. I think this one's on Sportsnet. So I'm feeling okay. I'm excited to see Rose Namajunas back in action. That's all I'm going to say for now. There you go. Let's leave it at that. You want me to stay positive? Right, let's stay positive. Let's stay.
Well, I mean, look, we've been trying to do a little bit of an exercise here, where we're trying to figure out if this is the card that features the most fighters who have appeared on the Contender Series ever.
Mike, I'm going to make it a poll first. Let's ask the people first. Let's ask the people how many. I'm going to tell this is live poll making. How many Contender Series contestants, so not necessarily who won contracts, but fought in the Contender Series at least once, are fighting Saturday? I'm going to let people guess. I will give the option of 11 or less. How about that? We'll go 11 or less, 12, 13, 14 or more. There you go. Throwing this poll in there. Let's give people like 5 minutes. Plus, you and I feel like still need to tabulate. So if you want to do some tabulation, people. But yes, we are asking because a lot of Contender Series participants on here, Mike.
Pretty much every single fight outside of the main event and maybe one other fight has at least one person who fought on the Contender Series. And there's a slew of fights that have multiple people who have fought on the Contender Series fighting each other. So we also have some Contender Series versus tough matchups. So pretty much almost every fighter in this card was either on the Contender Series or the Ultimate Fighter.
And we're not saying
some
that's
were
a
on
bad
both.
thing.
Some were on both.
Some were Julian Rosa.
Julian
Rosa has done it all. He's been in the UFC multiple times. He's done the Ultimate Fighter. He's done every time Julian Rosa is booked. I'm just happy. I'm just like, he deserves to be here. He has taken maybe the longest road humanly possible to get to the UFC.
Absolutely. What are you giving a gymnastics score for this card? Like what is the number? Are we under 7? Because I can't remember one that has gone under 7.
I think we have to be, because I said last week was like a 7. Do we feel like anywhere like the card? I didn't think that card was bad. I think most people would not call it a 7 out of 10. So we can agree it fell short of 7.
I don't know if I don't. Was it an enjoyable time where I'm like, man, I wish there's no better way to spend those 7 hours? No, because like I said, by Sunday after on to the next one, we will never speak about that card ever again. Even the Bryan Battle thing just went away. We didn't care anymore about it. That was all gone. But in terms of like what we expected and what actually happened, it wasn't that awful. Like two of the women's fights got finished in the first round. The main event ended in the first round. We had Bryan Battle doing Bryan Battle things after the co-main event and became like the MVP of the card. There were some decent scraps. I think it probably hit a 7. It was just a long day of fights that meant absolutely nothing. And those are always tough because you want to have cards that we could talk about for the next couple of days. And that certainly did not happen here, but it wasn't as awful as it could have been, if that makes sense.
On paper, I said the card could reach a 7 if it had a bunch of finishes, if it had some compelling fights, which I guess it kind of did. So maybe I'm not being fair. Maybe I'm moving the goalposts unfairly because we did get. I'm looking at the card right now. Last week's. This is how excited we are about this card. We're talking about UFC Vegas 88. Danny Silva, Josh Kulabau was great, and the Christian Rodriguez Bulgarian fight that I thought was interesting. There's one other good fight they went to. Vince St. Preux, Kennedy Nzechukwu. So shockingly engaging. Yeah. So we had 3 good fights that went to a decision. We got a fair share of highlights. No crazy knockout of the year, submission of the year candidates or anything. But I stand by. I do think it fell short of a 7. I do think most people who watched probably, again, like you said it yourself, we won't be talking about this card again anytime soon. And that's probably true of this Saturday's card as well. So I will go a little lower than 7 just so this scale has some sort of nuance to it. I'll go 6.8. 6.8. And again, that's if everything goes well. And it could, like I said, we talked about how many Contender Series participants there are. These guys are still hungry. These guys and gals who came from this show are still hungry. They should be delivering finishes. They should be delivering exciting fights. That's not always how it plays out in practice. But on paper, this is how UFC would sell it to you, right? It's you might not know these people, but these are the hungriest fighters on the UFC roster right now.
Well, yeah, because they're the lowest paid fighters on the UFC roster. But I digress.
Correct.
Well, I actually think we will be talking about this card a little bit more than last week, mostly because of the main event, and mostly because while we love Amanda Ribas, Rose Namajunas is also in this main event, and she's one of the biggest stars in women's MMA, especially in the UFC. She's delivered some incredible performances, multi-time world champion, holds 2 wins over Zhang Wei Li, holds 2 wins over Ioana Jędrzejczyk. Her resume is super fascinating because she's beaten a lot of women that a lot of people didn't think she would beat. And then she's lost to a lot of women that people thought she would beat rather easily. So it's been a really interesting career. But this is one of those times where I think there's a majority of the fan base. It's not like they don't believe in Rose Namajunas anymore. They just don't feel like a title run is in her future anymore, if that makes sense. But usually when we start to feel that way, or the community starts to feel that way, that's when she comes on and has one of the best performances of her career. And we're like, oh, the old Rose Namajunas is back. Look at this. So I ask you, AK, what is at stake here for Rose Namajunas tomorrow? And do you feel heading into this fight, despite the setback, the loss to Carlos Barza, and we don't need to talk about that fight or rehash how that fight was, the loss to Manon Fiorot, do you feel like Rose Namajunas is still a championship threat, especially now that she's at 125 pounds?
Well, no, I got to split that question up then, because yes, I think she's still a championship threat. No, I don't think she is at 125 pounds. Even if she beats Amanda Ribas, because let's keep in mind here, Ribas is kind of a moonlighting 115er anyway, right? She's had a lot of great wins at 115 as well. Talking about Ribas, and she's had good wins at 125. Amanda Ribas has beaten fighters in the top 10 in both divisions, so she's a great test for Rose Namajunas. Probably the kind of opponent Rose should have fought first anyway. Someone who I don't think there'll be a significant size disadvantage at all. Because again, when Ribas fights at flyweight, she's essentially just not cutting weight. It's not like she's a big flyweight like Manon. When you saw the Manon Fiorot fight, the size difference was apparent. And again, flyweight is a good division. This isn't women's bantamweight where we kind of take shots at the overall talent level. The top 10 at flyweight are really, really tough. And I didn't like I did not like the Rose Manon matchup. I get why they did it. If Rose either fighter wins, it's theoretically an instant title shot. Though I guess didn't work that way for Manon. If Rose had won, they probably would have had to they would have tried to angle her towards a title shot. I think that's pretty clear. She has the star power. She has the resume, and it didn't work out. She didn't look terrible. She didn't look terrible against Manon. I mean, it's not like she got blown out. We know she injured her hand in the first round, so there's some excuses as to why she couldn't get over the hump in that fight. Maybe fully healthy, it doesn't matter. Maybe Manon still beats her. But yeah, I just don't love Rose Namajunas at 125. I'm glad she doesn't have to cut weight anymore. I'm glad she said she's feeling great. I'm sure she is. I just don't know if it's her ideal weight class. There weren't a lot of people clamoring for her to move up, other than for the reasons that she had mentioned before. Cutting to 115 sucks. So other than giving her a fresh set of challengers, and again, maybe a quick route to the title, because again, she only has to beat, she beats Ribas on Saturday and then gets another top 5 opponent next time. Other than that, it's not. I just don't feel like I'm seeing the best version of Rose at 125. And again, maybe we'll see it differently on Saturday. But she is essentially being matched up with a strawweight. So I'm very mixed on it. But I would say I think with some confidence, I don't think Rose is going to be able to do enough to get a title fight at 125.
I don't know if I agree with that, only because of the name. You know what I mean? Look, we have Erin Blanchfield fighting Amanda Fiora next week in the main event of a card that is not all that good, even with fans. And I saw some people reach out to me this weekend being like, you know what the UFC should do? They should switch them. Blanchfield Fiora should headline at the Apex, and Rose Ribas should headline in Atlantic City. I didn't necessarily agree with that, but there are people who feel that way. There is a world, because Rose is Rose, where she could leap over either of these two women because of the name. And when I know we have Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko fighting sometime this year, I think if we had to take a guess, we're thinking probably it happens at the Sphere, which is in September. A lot can happen between now and then. And even after that fight in September, we still don't know the future of this division. So if it comes down to Erin Blanchfield winning a decision against Amanda Fiora, or Rose Namajunas, the former champion, knocking out Amanda Ribas on Saturday, there's a world where Rose jumps everybody and they just try to rush her into a title fight. So I do think she's somewhat of a threat because there is star power there. People do care about her. And even with like Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko, like Alexa has emerged as a bigger star. You can make a case that Rose is the biggest name in this division right now. And that includes Valentina Shevchenko in terms of popularity and how many people know who she is. So with that said, I think she's always a threat to get a title shot no matter what's going on in her life. So I don't know. Her career is so interesting, AK. Like, I want to see the 30 for 30 on the career of Rose Namajunas. I'd love to see the behind the scenes of all of these fights, how she was heading into all of them, what her mindset was, because who knows? We might get the best Rose Namajunas tomorrow. We just don't know. We might get the best. We might get the worst. There's just no in between with her. It's either really good or really bad, AK. It's wild to think about how talented she is and what her road to this point has been like, even with winning titles. Like, her overall record is 11-6 as a pro fighter, but she won all these titles and did all these great things. But there's been so many ups and downs for a fighter like this. It's wild to think about.
I think I was just looking at the betting odds here, if you're wondering what I was looking at my phone for. So I'm looking at the betting odds. Rose has been a pretty comfortable favorite, I think, since this opened around -200. And a lot of that is based on the reasons you said, Mike, is her star power, for one, that affects betting lines a lot. And two, we know at her best, she can beat pretty much anyone at 115 for sure. And we theorize anyone at 125. I think that's why there's an excitement around, oh, what if she fought Alexa Grasso? What if she fought Valentina Shevchenko? And the UFC probably feels the same way, to your point of her being one of the most intriguing matchups for whoever happens to be holding the title, 6 months from now. I don't think that's fair to Manon. I don't think that's fair to Erin Blanchfield, but fair deserves words that we have tossed out a long time ago. We say it all the time in these preview shows and on to the next one, and pretty much every show that you can't go based on that. So again, I'm standing by. I just don't know if she'll be able to put together the body of work that earns her a title shot. I would be surprised. I don't want to say disappointed, because I do think Rose is a compelling challenger. I would be surprised even if she wipes out Ribas inside of a round, does a great call out, says, give me that title shot for the end of the year. If she actually got it, I feel like she has to beat one more person at 125. That's what I think. I know a lot of people disagree. I'll take a glance at the comments later. I'm sure people are screaming at me saying, nah, Rose, if she wipes Ribas out, that's your next title challenger right there. UFC might feel the same way. A lot of fans might feel the same way. I'm skeptical. I would love to see her go back down to 115 someday. I know she's fought all the fights there. I know it's probably not best for her health-wise, but she's beaten the current champion twice. That storyline is always going to be there. And even if Zhang isn't the champion like a year from now, let's say, that's a situation where Rose can drop right back down to 115 and get a title shot and not even have to, I don't even think have to beat a contender. So I'm still going with, yes, she could fight for UFC gold again someday, but I'm sticking with it being at strawweight. I wish I could fast forward a year from now and see where Rose is, but she's pretty unpredictable, her career arc. So I can't even begin to guess where she'll be next March.
Hey, look what happened in the men's flyweight division. She could do the complete
I knew
opposite.
I knew it.
She could do the complete opposite. She could call out Macy Barber, a realistic call out. Say, listen, would I like to fight for the title someday? Sure. Am I ready? Maybe not. And then she doesn't mention the belt at all. And maybe, much like Steve Vincenzo Urseg, maybe she finds her way in a title fight without even asking for it. Maybe Steve Urseg just broke the system altogether. If you don't ask for a title fight, you get it. And maybe that's what happens with Rose here. I don't know.
Is not doing the thing the new doing the thing?
It might be. Look at what Stevie E just did. Bilal Muhammad's still yelling for a title fight. Steve Ursig made his UFC debut a month after Bilal Muhammad's most recent fight, and he's already getting a title shot within a year of his UFC career starting, and he never asked for a title shot one single time. It's freaking insane.
Yeah, I get nothing surprises us in this industry. Like I said, if Rose got an amazing finish and then got the shot, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be like, oh wow, there was zero chance this was going to happen. No, there's a lot of reasons it can happen for the that we've already discussed, that we've outlined. But the fact that we have a clear number one contender fight next week, and I get it, that's a very competitive fight that could go to a decision and maybe not be the most like appealing to the average mainstream viewer. I understand, and then the UFC will simply look at, oh well, Rose finished Amanda Ribas, Blanchfield or Fierro kind of eked out a decision over the other woman. We're going with Rose. I get it. It just looks so strange to me because I think both Blanchfield and Fierro, they both deserve title shots, and the fact that after next week neither of them could be in line for one it boggles my mind. But that is combat sports, isn't it?
Availability is your best friend.
Oh, it is.
That's just kind of how it is right now. So, and I like this matchmaking a lot because either Rose, this is a perfect stylistic matchup for Rose Namajunas, in my opinion. Like, this is a fight she should win. I actually feel like minus 205 there's value at minus 205 because I feel like if Amanda has her best day and Rose has like 80% of her best day, I still think Rose wins this fight pretty much every single time because Amanda does have some durability issues and Rose is a 5-round fighter. She's been in this spot many, many times. However, if Amanda does win, she is extremely likable, very positive. She's got a presence to her. She has an infectious personality that just jumps off the screen towards anybody who sees her. So even if Rose has a bad day and Amanda has a tremendous day and goes out there and beats Rose, like, you could propel her up the ladder. And if Amanda loses, like, it's not the end of the world because people like her. So this is like excellent matchmaking. Having said that, AK, minus 205 right now is the line on Rose Namajunas, according to our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. The comeback on Amanda Ribas, plus 170. Your pick for this main event tomorrow.
I think Rose is a pretty safe pick. I think the line is probably in the right place. I think it moved. I swear Rose was bigger when the fight was announced, or at least even earlier this week. Not like 3-1 or anything, but closer to like minus 250. So, and again, that makes sense to me. There's a lot of public confidence in Rose, and they're probably coming at it the same way I am, where generally, and people will know this if they read my predictions, generally when I make a pick, I am trying to project the best version of that fighter showing up on fight night. There's certainly exceptions. If a fighter's on a losing streak, if a fighter just looked so bad or has hit a certain age or a certain amount of fights, then you'll see me go like, oh, well, the best is behind them, and I don't think they can find that gear again. But like I said, guys, go back, watch the Fierro fight. Rose wasn't bad at all. She landed a lot of hard shots in Menal. The damage I think there was a cut that was done by, I believe, like a headbutt or something. So that's not to her credit. But overall, watch the fight. Rose has really good striking and really good boxing. I think this one stays on the feet. Ribas for sure has some finishing power as well, but I do like this one to stay on the feet. I do think it'll be an entertaining 5-rounder, and I think Rose is going to remind a lot of people, a lot of doubters, including myself, why she is always going to be in title talks probably for the next couple of years as long as she can stay in the W column and avoid any more losing streaks. So I'm going Namajunas by decision. I feel pretty comfortable about it.
Rose Namajunas, as of 3 days ago, was a minus 265 favorite on DraftKings. Wow. And there are other books that had her right just under a minus 300 favorite, which is why I feel like there is some value here, minus 205. Now, when I say value, I mean I'm not betting on this card, but I do think minus 205 is like a pretty nice number here because I do think this matchup stylistically suits Rose a lot. She's going to have someone who's going to be real aggressive towards her that isn't as rangy as Rose is, that gets hit a lot and has taken a lot of damage. Just look at the Macy Barber fight. She took a beating in that fight. And when Amanda loses, she gets finished, and she gets finished by just fighters who are just better than her, have higher resumes that are higher ranked fighters. Doesn't mean Amanda can't beat anybody ranked higher than her. I just think from a stylistic perspective, this suits Rose so well. And I think 5 rounds also suits Rose really well. I think Rose not only wins this fight, I think it is going to be fun for a little while. And I think Rose is going to start to pull away. I think she finishes Amanda Ribas. Round 3, TKO will be my official prediction. I think Rose gets her first finish in a long time since the Zhang Weili one. Yeah.
Calling a finish. Yeah, listen, she's had some of the best knockouts at strawweight. Some pretty memorable knockouts at strawweight. And I think she's only had 2, right? She's only had the Zhang and the Joanna knockout, I think, right? But I mean, those are two of the most memorable knockouts in the history of the strawweight division. So she can always pull out another one, hopefully at 125 this time. Mike, do you want to see the results of this poll, or do you want to get to the Contender Series results later, sort of the Contender Series content results?
I mean, we can do it now because I was just going to say, like, pick one other fight you're super interested in. You can run it down.
We're not we're not putting a spotlight on the penultimate heavyweight bout between Karl Williams and one of the Tafa brothers.
I mean, it's a cool story. The Tafa's going full circle, one replacing the other, and then the other just giving it right back. Penultimate fight to the 9s here. It's just no doubt about it. Edmund Shabazian is back against AJ Dobson. Payton Talbott, Cameron Simon's good fight. Billy Q, Youssef Zalal, good fight. There's going to be like good fights. There's just outside of the main event, there's just literally nothing on the line. Like worse stakes this week than there was last week outside the main event.
What fight would you have put second to last? Thinking myself.
Billy Q, Youssef Zalal.
Sure. Good fight.
I think outside of the main event, Billy Q is probably the most popular fighter on this card.
Oh, true. Okay, yeah. If we're going on fighter popularity, that has to be the case. I think that I'm trying to look at any other name. I can't imagine there's that much.
Karl Williams, Justin Tafa would probably not even be on the main card in my eyes. And I'm not saying this to be a prick, but they're like, if we're ranking these in like terms of fights that I care about and like am intrigued to watch, that is not in the top 6 or 7 right now.
That is getting they assume there's a good chance Justin Tafa could knock out Karl. Like they always put heavyweight fights high in the card, just assuming, one of the big boys will knock the other big boy out. But this is a very good chance to be Karl Williams takes Justin Tafa down for 3 rounds.
Oh yeah. Nonsense. This is heavyweight overwritten all over it.
Oh man. I kind of would have liked to have plucked Ricardo Ramos and Julian Erosa from the prelims and made that.
That's a good fight too.
But you're right. In terms of name value, if you're going to go with a featherweight fight in the penultimate, it would have to be. It would probably be Billy Q. I think that's probably sensible. Yeah.
Yeah, and Youssef Zalal is fun. Yeah. So there you go. What's the poll saying? I'm sure. I mean, they have the hindsight to just look it up and find out the answer. But what's the poll saying?
Let me tell you something. If you're watching this show right now, or listening afterwards, if you're listening to the show afterwards, and you took the time to look this up, you deserve to be correct. Like you deserve to. I don't even consider that cheating. I just feel like if you took, actually, it would take a little bit of time because I made notes. It actually takes a bit of time to make notes and figure this crap out. If you took like 10 minutes of your life to figure out how many Contender Series contestants were on here, then bravo. Again, you're not a cheater. You're just smart. I'll end the poll now. Most people, Mike, 36% are thinking there are 14 or more. So 14 or more out of the 26 fighters competing Saturday that have appeared on Contender Series at least once. Not necessarily won a contract, but have passed through Contender Series. Mike, do we have a tally? Should I go from the bottom? You help me out here?
Let's go. Let's just go through it all. Let's just go through and find out.
Let's go from the bottom.
You want to go from the bottom? Or you want?
Yeah, bottom of the card.
Right, let's go. Okay. We'll go from the bottom of the card. Okay. We got Muhammad Usman was not on the Contender Series.
Was not.
He was on the Ultimate Fighter. So there you go. Mick Parkin was on the Contender Series.
Yeah,
so there's
won a contract. There's one.
Igor Severino, who will be fighting in the second fight. Yes, was on the
Yes,
Contender
winner.
Series. So there's 2.
Contract winner. Yep.
Andre Lima, 25 years of age, on the Contender Series.
Yep.
So that's
there's
3 of the first 4 fighters
3 of the first
were on the Contender Series. I don't believe Monster at Rendon was on the Contender Series.
I don't think so. Nor Daria Zilla.
Daria was also not. Stephen Wynn, I know, was on the Contender Series, and I think he's been on the Contender Series 3 times.
Oh yes, we should tell
yes.
people if you were counting Stephen Wynn, we were only counting him once. But yes, the young man had to go to the show 3 times to get a UFC contract.
So Stephen Wynn is number 4.
Yeah.
Miles Johns, number 5. He was on the Contender Series
a while ago. That's right.
Yes. Cody Gibson was not on the Contender Series. He was on Tough. So what are we at? 5?
No, Ultimate Fighter. We are 5.
We're at 5 total for Contender Series. Julian Erosa has done it all.
Correct.
Yes, he was on the Contender Series.
Is that all? Of course.
That is 6. Ricardo Hamas, was he on the Contender Series? No. So we're at 6. Kurt Holloway is number 7 for certain. He was on. He headlined the first ever episode of the Contender Series against Matt Bessette. That is very true.
Kurt Holloway is the original Contender Series.
He was the main event of the first ever Contender Series fight. Won it. Finished Matt Bessette in the first round. Ended up failing a drug test. Got a contract anyhow, and then eventually Matt Bessette also got a contract. But yes, they headlined the first Contender Series ever.
Okay, we are at 7. That's 7 names.
Luis Panuelo, number 8. He was on the Contender Series. Fernando Padillo, not on the Contender Series.
No.
So what are we at? 8?
We're at 8.
Billy Q, number 9.
Yep.
Peyton Talbott, Cameron Saiiman, 10 and 11.
Both. Oof, wow.
Edmund Shabazian, AJ Dobson, 12 and 13.
That's it.
Karl Williams, 14.
Oh wow. That's okay. I must have missed
14.
one. Yeah, we are at 14. I missed who did I miss? I missed someone way earlier in the card. I forgot that they were on. Wow.
14 of them.
Wow. 14 out of that's I think maybe you know what then? I think
that might be the record.
The record, right? People out there said let me go to I'll look at the comments a second again. People might have a better grasp on this. Yeah, that is 14 people.
14.
Some people calling Holloway double dipper, Ultimate Fighter, and yes, as is Julian Erosa. He's also did Ultimate Fighter and Contender Series.
Sure did.
Wow. That machine is working. That Contender Series machine is churning out bodies for these Apex cards, Mike.
They sure are.
And congrats to all the guys.
14 fights, 14 Contender Series alum.
Oh, wow, that's right. So thank you, Casey.
Hey.
So not a guy in every fight, but an average of 1 Contender Series fighter per fight on this card.
Yep.
Damn. That's all I can say. Oh, more, right? 13 fights. So yeah, sorry. 14 Contender Series fighters. 13. Damn. I don't even know. Should I do a new poll? Like, how do people feel about this? Like, because
I mean, I don't know. I think your Ron Simmons one word "damn" says it all. AK.
I think we always have to make clear when we talk about this, we never want to make it sound like we're dogging the talent. Okay, we are not dogging the fighters who had to go through this route, because this is the route that exists and it got them the UFC, and that's great for a lot of people. That is their dream, that is their goal, just to make it on there with the hope that you have some success and start to really make some money. But it does it is just a reminder of when people complain about sort of diluted quality of cards, at least from a name recognition value. Well, this is why it's a conveyor belt of people from the Contender Series, and I think this is something we'll have to. And we've been tracking it, but we'll continue to track heading into UFC 300, which I don't think has. I was gonna say it doesn't have any, but no, has one. Has at least one in the main event. So
Atlantic City is gonna have some.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely know Vegas 90 is gonna have some.
Yeah, we'll have to do some math. Wow.
So I'm looking at the first ever Contender Series edition. Holloway Bessette was the main event. Azuna Anyanwu versus Greg Rebello was the co-main event. So a lot of New England representation here with Matt Bessette and Greg Rebello. The other contract winner besides Kurt Holloway was Boston Salmon, who defeated Ricky Tercios, AK, on the first ever Contender Series episode.
Another guy, Tercios, who had gone through tough and
he won a decision and got a contract. Charles Bird got a first round submission against Jamie Pickett and did not get a contract. And Joby
Charles
Sanchez.
Did he retire?
I don't know. He hasn't fought in a hot minute. Jamie
Where'd he go?
Pickett just retired. I don't know. So there you go. That's the first ever Contender Series.
That is wild. That, I mean, and listen, good for a lot of those names you read off that are on the roster today, or again competing on Saturday. That is crazy. Kurt Hollabaugh,
Ricky Tercios. Look at Ricky Tercios, man. He's another double dipper.
1 second. I'm just making a note here. Wow. So Arosa was one of the names I forgot. Won, but knocked out Jamal Emmers, but did not get a contract.
No, he took a short notice fight and had to fight Jalen Turner, I think, or somebody like that.
Yeah. His next fight was
Vicente
in the UFC.
Luque.
Right.
Yeah.
That was not off of it. It was not off of actually being signed from the. What's so like, because this was almost 6 years ago. And again, we talked about a lot the last 2 seasons. If you were a 20-something fight veteran and you got a knockout on the show, I mean, they're signing you the second you step out of the cage. But back then, Zuna Rosa didn't get signed. Chris Curtis didn't get signed. Go
look at the results. Go look at the results of season 1. All the first round finishes, and like 80% of them didn't get contracts. It's wild.
And some of those fighters are really good. Like some of those guys who like were on the show, like, oh, these are like experienced guys who were UFC ready and shouldn't even had to go through the Contender Series, and they didn't get signed off the show. Like
crazy.
So weird.
Yes, it was Jamal Julian Erosa stepped up to 155 to fight Devontae Smith on like a week's notice and got finished in 46 seconds. And that was when Devontae Smith was looking like this guy might fight for a belt someday. Yeah. Then he got Grant Dawson, which is never fun for anybody because he just squishes you. Then he got head kick KO'd by Julio Arce and then had one fight outside the UFC and got right back. And now he's on a nice little run. 5-3, won 5 out of his first 6 in the return. Let's see if he can bounce back. So that should be a fun fight with Ricardo Ramos.
Is Talbott Saiiman our only Contender Series crime fight?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not? No, it can't be.
Edmund Shabazian versus AJ Dobson.
Oh, it's all right. And Severino. All right, Severino. The young man, Severino and Lima just 25 years old. Severino 20.
Yes.
A baby.
So I believe there's 3 Contender Series on Contender Series matchups.
I think you're correct. Yeah. And they're not bad matchups either. Like these are good matchups. No. Just like, we're not moving on them.
This is not going to be like a terrible viewing experience. It's just going to be just that, and then we're going to move on to other things incredibly quickly. That's just what this card is, and that's okay. Let's bring Casey in. Let's hear from the peeps. Let's see what they're thinking about this card.
Other one.
I wish I'd been around to answer that question.
Was that on BTL yesterday? I don't remember.
What was it? What was it? Let me see what it was again.
And of course, the super chatters, you get to jump the line. I'm sure there's a bunch of questions in here, but if you're just like, I just want to go now, I got to eat some lunch or do whatever, I want to get to my question, we give you the option. You can jump everybody. As we know, Namajunas, former sources Whitman will again not be in her corner. Is this a positive or negative? Kind of tough to say, I guess.
She's training with Whitman, right? Though, like
I think so.
I don't know. I keep hearing all this drama, but I don't know how substantiated it is that she's not with Whitman anymore. Let's do a quick look at this here.
She said after the Fioro fight, because that was a big talking point. She said that she worked with Whitman, but Whitman didn't want to be in her corner, or it's not that he didn't want to be in her corner. They discussed it, and I guess Justin Gaethje was getting ready to fight Dustin Poirier or something, or I don't remember. Well, he was supposed to corner somebody. Maybe it was Usman against. Maybe it was Usman. I don't remember. Whitman was supposed to corner somebody or prepare somebody. And just like the timing didn't work out for him to like be in her corner. She did address it on Instagram.
But
you guys are correct though. She is still trained. She did train with him, but again, not in her corner. Was not in her corner for the Fiorello fight. Won't be in her corner against Ribas either.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say negative.
Has to be, right?
It's not a positive. Oh, this is a great thing that Whitman's not with her. That's a great thing that her main coach isn't with her during the most important night. Yeah, that's great. How's that a positive? That's just, I mean, unless she's completely just not with Whitman anymore, or I mean, all our best success came under Whitman's tutelage, so I don't see how it's a good thing. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's probably a negative, but she might come out and just head kick KO Amanda Ribas in 13 seconds. We don't know.
But I still wouldn't see that as being positive that Whitman's not there, that her main coach. If Whitman's truly her coach right now, or she's just kind of saying that for the media just to avoid any sort of like, I don't know, drama that maybe
Rose doesn't strike me as a bullshitter though. She seems to,
I don't know, not being bullshit, but just not give you the answer. Like,
yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
She seems to be in a good place mentally and spiritually overall. Though was her media day. She had quite a step in her step. You know,
she's very good at cover. I mean, you've seen interviews of her before. Like before the fight, she seems fine, and then afterwards, she turns out she was lots of drama and stuff. And then it's just this is what fighters do. Fighters are just incredibly good at bullshitting us. That's what they do. That's what they do in the cage. When they get hit hard in the face, they go, "That doesn't hurt," and so the judges go, "Oh, I guess that doesn't matter." That's a high-level prize fighter's job is to bullshit. So we'll see.
I mean, we will get the answer after this fight.
Yeah,
like especially if she loses, because that's how we found out. That's how we found out why Whitman wasn't in her corner in Paris, is because she went on Instagram Live and like let loose a bit.
Yeah, and it made sense because that was in Paris. So that's, we got to fly to the other side of the world. If Whitman is involved, with a training camp at that time, and maybe I get it, but this is Vegas. This is a 45-minute flight from Colorado or wherever she's training. So it's not a travel thing this time. So it's surprising.
We're also going to have again, this will be in the Apex. We're going to get a pretty clear audio of the corner dynamics, which we kind of did in Paris. I think it was after round one when she was telling Pat Barry and the team about the hand injury, and they're just kind of like, "Oh, you're fine, you're fine." What would they say? You don't need your hand to fighters. I can't remember.
No.
Yeah, something like,
something
like that.
That is a big thing, though. She broke her finger or like dislocated one of her fingers. That when you're fighting a highly competitive match and you're missing a finger and everything hurts, you have no grip in one of your hands, that's enough to lose fight. I mean, and that is a legitimate excuse. That is not like BS, and that's like, oh, I broke my finger, I mean, you still lost,
gnarly.
But yeah,
it was gnarly. People saw the post-fight picture, like her hand looked like a gnarled branch. Like it was gross. So, but yeah, I am interested. I will be keying in, I think, I'm
always amazed fighters don't break like just random pinkies and stuff during fights more. It's just because those, I'm just always, or they fight through it somehow. You just hope their adrenaline gets you to those 15 minutes. We got a super chat, $4.99 super chat from our friend Achilles Jr.
Oh, New York Rick fan number one, Achilles Jr.
What's up, guys? Am I wrong in thinking Dobson is going to spark Edmund pretty easy? Also, Usman's brother keeps winning, but he's not good. I'm not gonna say he's not.
Oh, I'm picking Edmund.
I'm not gonna say he's not. Yeah, I'm not gonna say Muhammad Usman is not good. He's just not fun to watch, if that makes sense. I think he might suffer his first UFC L in this one. But he was supposed to fight Chris Barnett, if you guys remember. That was like the initial booking. So.
I have no gauge.
Is he wrong in thinking AJ Dobson is going to? Yeah, is he going to spark? Is AJ Dobson going to spark Edmund pretty easy?
Pretty easy? Like spark him? I mean, I think Edmund is it? When we say spark, are we suggesting on the feet, just lights out, just cracks him, and just blows Edmund away in the striking?
Just pop 1-2, he goes down. Wins in 2 minutes.
Like Edmund's a very good striker. I guess if you want to poke holes in his defense, that's fine. But he hasn't looked generally when a fight stays in the feet. Edmund's pretty okay. Edmund's pretty.
Yeah, he's really good.
That's his whole deal. Yeah, that's his whole deal. So that's why I'm a little confused. Like, maybe I need to look more at AJ's wrestling. Maybe they're suggesting AJ will take him down and dominate the fight that way. But I would be really surprised if Dobson just lights up Tavarian in the first round. I know Tavarian has had his share of disappointing performances, but I think we've yet to see him just get like straight up smoked in the first like 2 minutes of a fight, and for good reason. I think he does have, again, as long as the fight is standing, he's pretty okay. It's once the fight hits the ground that we all just start going like, well, this is done.
Yeah, his last 4 losses, his only 4 losses, Brunson, Hermanson, Imavov, Hernandez, all eventually took him to the ground and he wilted under their pressure. So standing wise, I think is there a big thing? I've never been blown away by Dobson. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know.
This would be and I mean this just for what it is. This would be by far the worst loss of his career. Like by far the worst loss of his career.
I mean, Dobson's like top 50. I don't know. Like
probably higher. He's 1-2 in the UFC.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by what. I guess Katie Jr. He knows something we don't know. So
maybe Aquiles, if you are a betting man, Dobson by KO TKO DQ plus 650 on DraftKings. Use promo code the MMA Hour. So if you're that confident, put your money where your mouth is, my friend. Make yourself a few simoleons this weekend. But I'm not an adventurous bettor, so I would not go for it. But hey, that plus 650, that's a juicy number right there.
I'll tell you what, man. My one concern about that fight is if AJ Dobson wins the first round. If AJ Dobson wins the first round, he's winning the fight. Plain and simple. Unless Shabazian knocks him out in round 2. Because Shabazian's gas tank has been sus from day one. And we saw, I mean, he does get wilted, but there are fights that he's had that he just does not look himself as the fight goes on. I don't think that's going to be a big problem for AJ Dobson training with guys like Matt Brown and the Hammer House, all that stuff. Like those dudes are in tremendous shape. I think Edmund's going to win this fight, though. I think this fight is made. It was supposed to be Dusko Todorovic, which actually would have been perfect for Edmund because it's just been a striking battle with an absolute lunatic. AJ's a little bit of a different style, but lower ranked for certain. So. Okay.
I think this is a great fight for Edmund, and he's coming off a loss against Fluffy, but Fluffy to me, Fluffy's just really exceeded my expectations, and now I have to concede that Fluffy's just better than I thought he was, and
he's super good.
Yeah, he simply I was wrong. He's better than I thought, and I have to take that into account for when I think of Edmund. 'Cause at first when Edmund lost, I was like, oh man, we're back to old Edmund, but. I gotta give Fluffy more credit. Yeah, especially after his last performance. Yeah, and that's what he did the same thing to Edmund. He just broke him and wilted and got the submission. I think late in the fight. Yeah, late in third round. So cool. Thank you very much.
Okay, wait, can we talk about Mo a little bit more too? Mo Usman is such a weird case because obviously just by being Kamaru's brother, there's this elevated. Like, it's a very easy sell on paper. I think a lot of us heard of Mo Usman a long time ago, way before he was a fighter, even before he was in the PFL. I think we were all aware of Mo Usman's existence.
Titan FC, baby.
Titan FC. And, like, because it's hard not to tell yourself, ooh, imagine Kamaru Usman, but as a heavyweight. And that's not what Mo Usman is at all. He's clearly a well-trained guy, don't get me wrong, training with his brother, training with the people that his brother trains with, that – it has obviously made him a good fighter, like a quality heavyweight. But he's not like the most dynamic heavyweight. He is not the most dominant heavyweight. At times, if you ask me, I feel like he maybe thinks too much. I think he's so well trained. I think he's pretty cerebral. You can almost see the gears in his head moving during a fight, and that's worked for him a lot in his career. It's also led to some incredibly dull performances, if we're being honest. And hey, as long as you're winning,
Kamaru Usman had incredibly dull performances.
Yes, it's true.
So I don't take dull performances equates to he's a mediocre fighter. Those are two different things.
Yeah. I think what was the question? Bad.
We're just talking entertainment.
He's not good. He's not good.
Entertainment value. Yeah, so Mo Usman has some very unentertaining fights, but he is to me definitely a UFC caliber heavyweight. But I think he actually is Kamaru Usman at heavyweight in the sense that he's like no in the sense that if you literally just Kamaru Usman just didn't diet and fought at heavyweight, this is pretty much what we would have. It would be that same quality of fight. Kamaru Usman would just have to rely on his wrestling and just decent and obviously decent striking.
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah. But it's not like
But you looked at Kamaru, but you always looked at Kamaru even after the dull performances at times when he was like, because he always like 30-25 to everybody, even though it wasn't like that compelling. He never got punched. He never suffered a second of danger in any of those fights. Like, not one. They just weren't all that thrilling to watch because he just took you down and laid on you and kept you there. Usman has struggled in some of these fights. So they're more competitive. Like, Jake Collier was like somewhat competitive. I don't know. We'll see. This will be a good test, though. Mick Parkins.
This is a very good test.
This is the curtain jerker on a throwaway Apex card. So,
for sure.
Are we? Is the UFC really putting that much into Mo Usman?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's just
they like Mick too.
Yeah, it's just he's the kind of guy. Like I said, the expectations are probably always gonna be a little too high for him to where he actually is.
Oh yeah,
again, he's only 34, which, as we always say at heavyweight, that's like 24. That's like being 24 at heavyweight. Honestly, he could have another 6. His best years could be he could be 2 years away from like his being his actual best version, and he's getting a lot of good experience now. But I don't know. His name is always going to jump out at me for obvious reasons, and also just because I feel like we've seen a lot of Mo since he turned pro. Like, I just feel like a lot of people have been watching MMA, have been tracking this guy for a long time. So it's a lot of expectation for him. But you're right, Casey. Like, him being the curtain jerker on a card like this is against an undefeated fighter is really kind of the best situation for him right now, I think.
I mean, for all this critiquing, he's still 3-0 in the UFC.
3-0. That's right.
And the guy couldn't even hang in PFL. He's a PFL washout.
He was not good on the ultimate. He was not good in the Ultimate Fighter. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up was I know zero people watched season 30 except for me.
I thought he lost. I thought he lost one of those fights.
He was terrible going into the final. I thought Zach Paga was gonna clock him. If you had told me Usman by knockout in the final, I would have taken like
that was shocking.
I don't know, plus like 1,000 odds or something that wasn't gonna happen, or minus 1,000, whatever. But hey, sometimes the tough house isn't for everybody. Maybe he just didn't like it. Maybe the matchups weren't that appealing. They just didn't tough stylistic matchups. But he looked so bad in the Ultimate Fighter. I thought there's no way this guy was gonna, 1, win the show, 2, go on a nice little run to start his UFC career. So it's a nice opener.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Muhammad doesn't need to hear what anybody has to say.
No.
Just get that second paycheck, man. Do it however you gotta do it. Go get that second paycheck, bro.
Never get your hand raised, Mo. That's what you gotta do.
That's all. Yeah, that's all that matters. All that matters. Super chat coming in from Lazy Bed.
Kurt Hallowed, least celebrated tough winner ever.
No.
He is my most celebrated tough winner.
You go on.
We did a whole show.
We did a whole podcast about Kurt Hallowed.
There's so many. I saw the question, so I pulled up a list. There's so many. James Wilkes. Colton Smith. Colton Smith, I would say number 1 by far, the least, and he did not have. I don't think he won a UFC fight after.
He got hard fights. I felt like he got shafted a bit.
Colton Smith fought Robert Whitaker, Michael Chiesa, and Diego Ferreira. Those are his 3 UFC fights. 0-3, and I mean, I don't.
All guys who were top 10 at some point for sure.
And he was just unfair. He was 3-1 going into the UFC.
Only 3-1. Yeah, he got. They did him wrong.
That was tough, Colton. And then again, obviously a lot of Eddie Gordon from the season that Corey Anderson won. Everyone remembers that Corey Anderson won. They really don't remember Eddie Gordon that much. And then a lot of recent seasons, you can point to people who just nobody remembers. So Kurt Hallowed, I think, if anything, he has a really nice story, which actually made people kind of pay attention to him winning the show. I don't even know if he'd be in the bottom 5, but it says a lot about how far the show has fallen.
I'm probably wrong on this because I know you're the expert. Is he the first tough winner to be a former UFC vet? Or that's not a vet. That's not a vet season. It wasn't a vet.
Oh, that's not a vet season. I mean, that's definitely. No.
Well, this was a vet season.
No, it wasn't.
It was. Yeah, it was. Remember, vets versus rookies.
It was vets versus prospects.
Prospects.
Oh well, okay. Well, it wasn't all vets, then I guess.
I kind of know what you mean. Yeah, well, was there a regular season where because they've done comeback seasons? I'm almost sure. I just had the list in front of me. I should not have closed it. That's fought in the UFC before. I'm not going to cheat. I'm sure people are telling me in the comments. Yeah.
Katona,
Tim Elliott technically wasn't a
Tim Elliott. Okay, Tim Elliott. Yeah, he was a regular, just a vet, and then he went to the tough thing, and then won the fight to fight
I would
face Demetrius.
yeah.
Oh, Tim Elliott. Okay, Tim
I
Elliott.
would say Tim Elliott.
Yeah.
I got my answer. Thank you.
There you go.
This was since Jed's not here. Do we remember what Jed gave?
I think it was 3.
3 farts.
I think the fart score is 3.
Guys, I was not here for the creation of the fart scale. I was on vacation. So is that good or bad?
It's bad. It's fights above replacements, tussles system. So it's like out of all the fights, like what are the fights and or fighters that like the majority of people would tune in to watch on this card, and it was 3. I think it's Amanda Ribas, Rose Namajunas. I think it was maybe Payton Fart score is 2, according to Shaheen Al-Shadi.
Oh, okay. All right. You want the score to be high. You want to say it's a lot of fights.
The higher, the better.
How many
UFC 300 is probably like a 12.
A 12 out of 12, or however many fights there are, right? Yeah, above the quote-unquote whatever constitutes an average UFC fight these days. I'm wondering how many of these fights would we consider to be below?
Almost all of them. It was the main event, and Jed gave like a half point to Billy Q and a half point to somebody else.
Wait, because he disrespects Kurt Hollenba. So that goes back.
He wasn't there. And the weird thing is, I think that was the one episode. Actually, I think the one episode he guested on of Tough Hang was a Kurt Hollenba fights episode. I think, but anyway.
I gotta say, I am excited. Fight? Oh, was he watching? Okay, that was so good.
That fight was great.
I am excited to see Cody Gibson fight tonight. Tomorrow. I'm excited to see Kurt Hollenba fight. I got invested in their stories. So those are 2 farts for me. So
fair. It's a good fight.
Great job, man. Great job on the new scoring system.
Took a bit of time. Yeah, you just. All right. Thank you very much, Lazy Bed. Oh.
Yeah, I think they gave Bellator 3 farts.
Yeah, fair.
Okay.
Can I get a gymnastics score for the Roadhouse remake?
Well,
set it up, AK.
I can't really give it a score because I've watched it. I've watched it. Casey, Mike, have you watched it?
I did. I watched it last night.
You watched it. We all watched it last night.
We do all watch it last night. That's so sweet.
Listen, not all of us could be on the red carpet like Jose Young's getting the advanced screenings. So yeah, most of us saw it when it was released to North America on Amazon Prime last night. So yes, gymnastics score is really for if I haven't seen something. So really, we just need to give it a proper rating, which we will do soon, not on this show, because Casey, you, myself, and the great Jed Mashu, we are working on a little another podcast, maybe another show for the podcast network. I don't think I want to reveal the title yet, but let's just say it involves MMA. It involves movies.
Cinema.
It involves cinema. It involves MMA movies, you would say. So we will be within cinema. So within the next 72 hours, let's say, you will be hearing in depth our opinions on the new Roadhouse remake. So look out for that. And by the way, though, David Martin has also written a review. So if you want to read about it and you want to listen to it, definitely check out our upcoming podcast. But also, you can, I think it's on MMAfighting.com right now. Mm-hmm. Damon did a little dive into the film.
Great website. Mike, do you want to go ahead and give your review of it, or is this the platform?
It is,
oh yeah,
sure. It's bad, like it's really bad, but in like it's like watching an old Steven Seagal movie. Like that's how I felt coming out of it. I'm just like, man, this is like so shittily written. It just makes no sense, but it's still kind of fun and funny, even in an ironic way. I will say, without Conor McGregor, this is one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time. And I thought Conor was just like perfect for the role that he was in. I thought he did a great job. But the movie's not very good. And I don't blame like Gyllenhaal or any of the actors involved. The story is just awful. It's just an awful story. I don't know who wrote this, but they should probably never write films again. It was probably 45 minutes too long. But Conor just lit up the freaking screen, man. Like it was a perfect role for him. So I don't like if you watch it, you're not going to have a bad time. But if you're expecting like cinematic gold, then you're going to hate it.
That sounds like a good review. if you watch it, you're not gonna have that sounds like a decent review.
Right. You have to go into it like for horror movie fans out there. There's a movie called Jack Frost, and it's not the Michael Keaton version.
Oh God,
and
no.
you know, and then they made a sequel, and you know that these are just going to be awful. Like, you know, going into it, these are going to be horrendous. But if you go into it with that vibe, that I know this movie's going to be awful, but I'm going to have a good time with it, then you'll enjoy it more. And that's what this is. Like, do not expect a good movie because you're not going to get it. But if you go in there just being like, this is going to be silly and fun, then I don't think you're going to have a terrible time.
You just spoke of this movie the same way you would of your average UFC Apex card. This
was the UFC Vegas like 88 of films where
Wow,
there's some good qualities.
Sure.
Like Brian Battle, like was the MVP, outspoken, kind of jumped off the screen in a strange way. That's kind of what Roadhouse is, the Roadhouse remake. And for anybody who says that this is better than the original, you are absolutely
the original is horrible. I watched it.
Oh, the original is great. It's
no,
so
it's
good.
Not. When you watch the original Roadhouse, were you going, "Oh, I'm watching The Godfather of"?
No, but it's like, oh, dude, that was The Godfather compared to the remake, 100%.
Dude, okay, all right. I recently watched the original Roadhouse, and I was like, man, okay, the movie's got some funny quotes and stuff, and like maybe like kind of funny scenes, but
Terry Funk just lights it up. He's so good.
I want to read a comment. Here's a review from the comments. Coin says, it wasn't that bad unless you don't watch movies in general and you have high expectations. So that's a pretty sterling compliment.
That's perfect. That's a perfect way to lay it out.
If you don't watch movies...
And if you don't understand the concept of a movie, you're like,
you've never
what is
seen
going
a movie
on?
before, you will be dazzled by the technology you'll be dazzled by the moving figures on the screen and
get some good food. Get some good food. And find the best ways to enjoy yourself and put yourself in a good mood. To just watch something super silly, and that's what you're gonna get, and you'll have a good time. And Connor's pretty good.
If you are a time traveler from medieval times and you accidentally find yourself plopped in front of a moving picture screen with Roadhouse on it, you will be blown away. You will be blown away.
It wasn't that bad if this is the first movie you've ever seen in your life and you have high expectations.
Yeah.
What a review.
That's a great review.
If you have no concept of what a motion picture is, you would love it. You will be blown away. No lies.
Quality review. It's a quality review. It's a quality review.
Man. I thought
it's what you expected to be.
I consider myself a film snob, but I think you guys are the film snobs. We'll see. We'll have my review later. We'll have my review later.
What most people would expect this to be. It falls just short of that, but it's still like a fun, ridiculous, like shake your head and giggle at some of the things that happen kind of a watch. The fight scenes are like, God, they're so funny. They're hilarious because they're so unrealistic.
What do you think,
Connor was good. He's so good.
Connor's got a tush. Man, that guy, he does not skip leg day. Good God.
There's no doubt that Connor was like, Connor needed that written in his contract that I have to show my ass in the movie or I'm not doing it because, boy.
Dude, he should get that written to every contract. When he finds that Chandler fight, that better be in the contract. He walks out. I want to see the reverse shot. Like, yeah.
Oh my God.
That is a tush.
But tune into the podcast. They'll get way more in depth.
Yeah, we'll get way more into that scene.
Not just that scene, but the film.
Yeah. No, we're just focusing on that scene.
Yes. We'll take a couple more, and then we got to get out of here.
You guys have any questions about UFC Vegas 89, Saturday's
No.
card? Come on.
All right.
You guys I don't see any comments about it. Oh, there we go.
If Ribas beats Rose, is she a shoo-in to face the winner of Fiora or versus Blanchfield, or does Erin secure a title shot to W over?
Yeah, there was no love for Amanda Ribas. We only talked about Rose. What if Ribas wins?
She can't jump over Macy Barber because Macy Barber thumped her real bad.
No, she just won't jump. She'll just be back in that mix, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I'll
tell you what.
Why?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'll tell you what. If you're Macy Barber right now, you are the biggest Rose Namajunas fan that has ever lived, because that is as good as it gets for her right now. Because she ain't getting a title fight. She ain't fighting the winner of Fiora versus Blanchfield. The best thing she can hope for is that she gets Rose Namajunas next, in my opinion.
And freaking Grasso and Shevchenko tied up on tough. Who knows? You know, it's just ugh. I just
stay
got
busy
reminded by
fight that could get her an immediate title shot if she beats Rose. But if Ribas wins, she's already beat up Ribas. So who does she fight after that?
Yeah, Ribas is really just a spoiler in this scenario. I feel like you did mention before, Mike, that she does have a likable personality. She is a company. She's almost
Certainly.
a little Cheeto Vera-y, almost like the Cheeto of 125 and 115. Like she is just I say yes, I show up, I cause no drama. The matchmakers love her. Fans seem to really like her. There's a little Cheeto Vera there in her, and maybe that is what gets her to a title shot someday. And maybe in the scenario, maybe Macy Barber's Corey Sandhagen, but I don't think so. I don't think she leapfrogs Barber, as we said, Mike, and I don't think she can leapfrog. I don't even know if she necessarily gets the winner of Fiora and Blanchfield. Kind of like Rose. I kind of want to see Ribas like just stick at 115. I think she's really good down there, but. In both weight classes, she's had trouble getting over the hump. So I get it. I understand. Maybe she calls for this.
You mean get over the hump, like getting top 5, or what is getting over the
hump? Yeah, because
she's
beaten top 10 names. Because she's beaten like Arujo, she's beaten John Jaroba, she's beaten Mackenzie Dern way back when. So at both weight classes, she has like top 10 wins.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like people talk about Ribas as if she's like, I don't know, like I look at her record, I'm like, okay, she lost to a really good Macy Barber who's kind of finally hitting her prime. She lost a very competitive fight against Caitlin. Now, Sermonara. And then, Marina Rodriguez got her. Marina Rodriguez is a top 5 strawweight. Yeah. So, like, I feel like we kind of, I don't know why. I kind of do it myself, too. Right? I don't know why I kind of undersell Ribas but when I look at her record and her wins, I'm just kind of like, oh.
No one's saying she's bad. We're all saying, why has she not become a top 5 person or a title contender herself? This is why. Every time when she gets these opportunities against people who are in the top 5, they just push her back. She's right there. She gets top 5 fights and she hasn't quite been able to get over the hump. So yeah, she is what she is. She's a solid top 10 fighter, I feel like, in both divisions. Yeah. But until she beats a Marina Rodriguez, until she beats a Macy Barber, until she beats what's the other? Caitlin Sermonara, it just puts a ceiling on her. But there's plenty of time, and this could win on Saturday. Could change a lot of people's minds about her ceiling.
Yeah, I think the confusion of just her balancing weight classes, and also we're at flyweight, but yet she's still fighting a strawweight. It just seems. I thought this was actually. It wasn't until right now. I mean, like before we started the show, I thought this was a strawweight fight. I didn't even realize this was a flyweight fight.
It essentially is. Like it may as well be, right? Like
This is a better version of their, because they're not gonna be weight cutted. What's the word I'm looking for? Dehydrated. You know,
depleted. So, they will not be depleted.
Sorry. They won't be depleted. So we actually might see a better version of their strawweight version of this.
I mean, look, there's fights for her. Like if Tracy Cortez is a fight that was booked before that they can go back to. There's others. They'll probably chuck her in there with like Jessica Andrade if she wins this fight, because Jessica's just going to bounce up and down, up and down.
She'll take that fight, yeah.
Of course she will.
All right.
Anything else?
Do one more. Let me see. And
shout out to the 394 people watching this right now.
Yeah, God bless
Amazing.
you. God bless you.
You're the best. Yeah. Just the best.
And last one, we've got a super chat from our good friend Achilles Jr.
Talbott or Saiiman, and why? Good freaking fight. I like this fight a lot. If I was betting, like I mentioned this, if the betting fairy dropped a 20 on the curb and was like, you can only put it on a money line for this fight, I'm taking Cameron Saiiman. He's the dog at plus 124. AK, we've had conversations about Payton Talbott on Set Next many times. The dude has something, and he's going to be very, very good. To me, I think he's going to be a top 10 bantamweight at some point. I think he's that good. He is raw. Like, he is raw. He is green, but he is super fun. He is talented. He is athletic. He's got like all the intangibles that, like, if we're comparing this to houses, his foundation is so strong. You just got to build everything up so that it fits right. My question about this is Cameron too big of a leap from the guys that he's fought? And I'm not saying Cameron is like a top 15 guy or even a top 25 bantamweight right now, but to go from the guys he's fought so early in his career to a guy like Cameron Saiiman, who's been in there with some pretty good dudes, it's a pretty significant jump up in competition. And the way we talked about him on Otno, AK, like baby steps, like whoever he just beat the last time, you put him against a guy either ranked below him or like one spot above that guy and just slowly build him up. Let's build his confidence up. And then eventually it'll start to click. And then we're off to the races. I just don't know if this is too much of a leap. So with that said, my magic $20 would go on Cameron Saiiman at plus 124, but I'm not like overly confident because Talbott is talented.
Yeah, Talbott currently the favorite on DraftKings, minus 148. Perhaps getting a little bit of that undefeated bump. People like that. Cameron Saiiman coming off of a loss, but I'm with you. For one thing, I really like the matchup. I do feel like Saiiman is a leap, is a step above, but I also feel like that this is a fight that you would see as the main event. Again, if they had not gone to the Contender Series, this would easily have been the main event of some regional card somewhere. So it's not like a mismatch, especially in terms of actual fighting experience. Saiiman's definitely fought the better opponents. He's younger than Talbot, but has just been in the game a little bit longer and does look more seasoned. With Talbot, as you mentioned, he's so talented. And from what we've seen, at least in the UFC and the Contender Series, like he kind of looks like he's still figuring out. He looks like he's figuring things out as the fight is going on, which is not to say he doesn't have a game plan. It's just that that's where he is in his career. Every minute of fighting is so valuable to him. He has to kind of take in as much data as he can, and that's fine. He has time. He's 25 years old, and he's been winning. So even if it takes him a bit of time to sort of figure things out, the results have been good so far. I am leaning towards Saiiman. I think his UFC run has been a bit weird. It's been muddled by him losing points in his first two fights and still winning. Which has to be like the first person in the UFC to ever do that. And the Christian Rodriguez loss, I don't hold against him at all, because if anything, that is the kind of loss that I feel like makes a fighter better. Is going to take him to the next level as far as training, preparation, mentality. He fought a guy who missed weight, was a bigger opponent, more experienced, grinder. I mean, you want to talk about mental toughness. Christian Rodriguez is advanced beyond his years. The dude is so mentally tough. And not to say that Cameron Saiiman isn't, just that, again, we're talking about levels. If we put Christian Rodriguez on one level, I put Saiiman a little below him, and I put Talbot a little below him. So this will be huge. I get why Talbot's favorite. I think we're both picking Saiiman, though, because we feel like he maybe shouldn't be the underdog. But yeah, big move for Talbot if he gets to win here. It'll readjust our expectations for him, kind of like we said about Ribas in the main event. There's a lot of narratives that could be slightly tweaked on Saturday's card. Nothing career changing, I don't think. I think even if Rose loses, like I said, I feel like she can always go back down to 115. But you will see people's like arcs go in a direction here, and that's not true. I don't think that's necessarily true of every card. But in this case, that'll be, if you want something to look at. Look at some of these young fighters where they are now, and then a year from now, we'll look back at some of the fights from this card as to why they ended up where they did.
So you're both picking. You're both picking.
Go ahead.
You're both picking
Saiiman. Yeah.
You're both picking Saiiman. But who do you have higher like overall expectations for in their UFC career?
I still think Saiiman. I'm very high on Saiiman. But Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, both of these guys are going to be top. I think both these guys are going to be top 15 bantamweights. I think
that's saying a lot, because being in top 15 in the UFC in that division is incredibly tough. Not
anytime soon. Like Talbot's only 25, Saiiman's only 23. They both have time. But Saiiman may be younger, but he's got way more fight experience. Like he's fought way tougher dudes, grimier dudes, and a lot of the fights that he's had are guys that go to freaking war, like Mana Martinez, even like Steven Koslow to some extent. Terrence Mitchell is a get-got dude. Like these are just the kinds of tests that he's had to experience that Payton just really hasn't yet. You know, he has like Payton. Cameron's been through the ringer already, and while Payton is incredibly talented, he hasn't gotten through the ringer yet. And I think his ringer starts now. Like this fight will be one of those fights that kind of gets him to where he needs to go, but win or lose. But if there's only one other fight I could watch on this card outside of the main event, it is this one, and there's probably not a close second in that conversation for me.
I'm interested in other fights on this card and individual fighters, but as far as like the actual matchup, this I feel should be the co-main event. Honestly, I think
I
this
love
should be
this fight.
I think it should be the co-main event on a card like this, where you're with UFC is actually putting two high-level prospects against each other, which in general I don't like, and especially kind of on a throwaway card like this. If you're going to kind of put two high-level prospects against each other, I will hope it's a card that matters and a placement on the card that matters. So that's why I wish it was at least co-main event. But yeah, this is a great fight, a dangerous fight I think for Saiiman. For Talbott, if he loses, he loses. But for Saiiman, that'd be 2 losses in a row. So I think it's a very dangerous fight for Saiiman to take. But here we are, and I like this fight a lot. I'm glad we talked about this because I remember looking at that and I kind of forgot about it. But this fight definitely deserves. I feel like you talk about we're just, after this card happens, we're not gonna remember this card or whatever. In 2 days, but maybe in a year from now or 2 years from now, we can look back at this fight as like, whoa, that was a great fight on this throwaway card. That's what I see.
That's
true.
Now. Yep, this is gonna be a chapter in the stories of these two gentlemen.
Guys, you've talked me into this card. You know what? 6.9. 6.9.
You can't change it. Once you throw a number out there, that's it.
No,
yeah.
You guys are so convincing. You guys have talking through the card has made me more excited about what we might see on Saturday.
All right.
That's why we do these shows. That's why we do these shows, guys. That's why we do these shows.
Yeah.
Hit the music. We're done. Guys, Bellator in Belfast.
HBO
right
Max.
now.
Oh, Max. Yeah.
Max. To the max, baby. To the max. We get some finishes going on. And that's what I'm going to be doing the rest of the afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I got to get my kid from school. But then after that, it is Belfast time for the rest of the day. And I couldn't be more excited. So we'll see you tomorrow for the People's Pre-Fight Show. I won't be here, but Jed Mishu will be there with Casey Leiden. And they will preview this card and answer your questions. Post-fight show, AK and I back on Sunday for some matchmaking following this event. And then we're on the road to UFC Atlantic City. Aaron Blanchfield versus Manon Fiorot and much more. So stick with us at MMAfighting.com. By the way, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, UFC 100 watch party. Get excited. We're going back in time for a very fun time in the sport. So for AK, Casey, I am Mike Heck. We'll see you later on.